Oh, welcome. Looks like we have left off was we did a little rabbit here on this piece of board, and just give me a second here. I want to change that blade. I was going around YouTube, but I wanted to eventually talk about ripping, and I came across a couple videos. But give me a second here. Let's see. Let's have. We can put this one in here. But I came across a video. Came across a video of let's see, let's see in here. A video of the site is called Stumpy Nubs, and it's funny, but he's got this title saying, I gotta wind up looking at it because I read stupid stuff people do with a radial arm saw. So when I saw that, of course I had to see what he was talking about, and oh my goodness. Can the man talk bullshit? He kept blabbing around about a magazine or a catalog from, I think it's DeWalt. I've seen those pictures. I think I mentioned before about the cuts, different cuts the machine can do, and there's actually nothing wrong with them. You know, that's what we're going through this, calibrate the machine. And most of those cuts, actually we did one of them with the blade like this, very safely. But he's calling it crazy or stupid, so he's actually calling me stupid for doing those cuts, is actually what he is doing. That's why I'm a little pissed off about the whole thing, that he's doing that. I don't know if he's calling the machine stupid, but the man can talk. Blah, 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 and all this talking that is stupid cuts, but it's crazy because you know, they say stupid is as stupid does. And he's perfect for that, because he mentions one of the cuts. Actually, I have the machine like this. Here's the cut done in that catalog, that magazine, where the blade is like this, and of course the guy is cutting a piece of plywood, I believe, a 4x8. And by the way, Stumpy is not on the floor. He does have a fence down at the bottom, if you really look at the picture. But he says that he has done that cut which I mentioned in one of my videos that I've done all the other cuts and more, but that cut I would not do because it does look unsafe. It doesn't look safe at all. And actually, the Walt should not have that picture in there. They should have never had that picture. It's kind of a weird cut. But anyway, he kept talking about back in the day, his day back at Grandpappy's shop, where he tried, or he's done that cut. And of course, Speakeasy, he can really bullshit a lot. That he's done that cut, and if he was able to do that, that was a good day. Of course, he had to throw his gut in there, that he didn't rip his gut open. But it was just funny that I came across that, how misleading are things out there on YouTube. And he complains about other people with radial arm saws that they get all finicky and about the machine, and it's true because what he's saying is not true. The machine is very, very safe, and here I have something to prove about. I mean, he has no proof at all. He just stands there, and because he has a couple clamps in the background, and he gets some, I don't know what else he's got back there in his background, and all of a sudden he's like the authority of radial arm saws. He says he has one, which I doubt it, if he ever operated one. And it's funny because there's another video where he has to, that one is the truth about the radial arm saws. It's like, he doesn't show a radial arm saw at all. I don't even know if he has one. He says he does. Someday he might take it out. I say, Stumpy, I think he hurt himself. I think he did something with his fingers. No idea what machine it was. I could care less. But if he would have used a radial arm saw, I think he would have been safe. I don't know what he did. He might have cut himself with a file or something. But let me forget about that video now, because what he's saying is not true. These machines are very safe, and there is nothing stupid making those cuts. As I'm going to show you. I'm going to show all the cuts the machine can make, and there's nothing wrong unless you do it the right way. And as long as the machine is calibrated and you do it safely, there's nothing wrong with making all these cuts. That's what's nice about this machine. It's much safer than the table saw. I'm going to bring this up a minute. I want to change the blade. The man can talk, that's for sure. Oh, blah, 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 blah. I'll get into his other video that I saw of his in a minute. I just want to change this blade here because I don't use this blade at all. Let me put the guard on, I'll be right back. Okay. Let me plug this guy in. I guess I had to mention that video that I saw with the Stumpy Nubs. How misleading his titles are, just to entice people to come to his dumb site so he can just talk. Man, can he talk? He should be a politician. He doesn't show anything. I don't think he knows how to operate anything. But it's a lot of talk, and that's all it is. And then he hurts himself, and then he wants to tell us what to do. Crazy. Anyway, I believe the last time I mentioned something about holding, how to hold things, and it is important. Oh, this board is not straight here. Of how we hold. Hey, this is really, board is really off. Anyway, the problem is we have a manual and it tells us how to calibrate the machine, so it will be calibrated, and it needs to be calibrated if we actually going to do cuts and use the machine like it was intended to do, with the different cuts and the angles and this and that. The problem is that there's not a manual telling you how to do that. So it comes with experience, I guess. And I say it's just common sense. You know, it's what I try to say. And I'm not telling anybody how to do that. I'm just kind of letting go what I do, so maybe someone can pick up from there, deviate from that, do it your own way, whatever. The fence is very important because we always, I was saying that, you know, you're supposed to hold it down, the piece, and then, of course, against the fence, but the fence is there. How can I explain that? What I'm trying to say is, if I wanted to cut this board, and I'm going to make a line, let's say I want to cut it there. Do I need the fence for that? I don't. You know, the fence is the fence is only there to keep my blade, or I should say my piece, 90 degrees to the blade. That's what helps me. I mean, can I be able to cut this without the fence? Yes, I can. Of course, I'll do my best here to keep it in line, but let's see. That was way off. Come down just a little bit. So it's tough to keep a line to cut this board without the fence. The fence comes in handy just to keep me at 90 degrees. You know, that's what the fence is there for, actually. It's not to hold it like people say. You know, the blade is gonna take the board and hit your fingers against the fence. It's not gonna do that. It's not. It's got a little force going that way, but it's cutting. You got to remember that the blade is cutting through the wood. There's a little force going down, yes, but not a lot, because it's cutting. It's cutting. What happens when people cut too quick, you're feeding too much board to the blade, and it all depends, of course, your horsepower, how big your motor is, you know, all of that, the kind of blade you're using. But if you give it too much wood, if you go too quick, it's going to bog down. It's going to wind up grabbing the wood. It won't be able to cut it. And it's going to grab it and it's going to bog down the machine. You're going to have to shut it off because you just can't cut anymore. You're giving it too much wood. The same thing in the ripping side. If you give too much wood. Here, you bring in the blade over. The other way, you bring in the wood over. But what happens, before I jump to that, so that's what the fence is here. So it could, I know that if I put the wood against the fence, and depending on my miter, that's exactly what I'm going to get. And if at 0, I want to get a 90 degree, I can turn this and get a 20 degree, and I can do all of that only because of the fence, the help of my fence. Without it, it will be tough for me to cut that way I want to. Can it be done? Yes, you can do it. I don't need the fence to cut this board. But without the fence, it's going to be really tough for me to cut where I wanted to. It's like I have to come right there. Let's see, guide it right here somehow. Let's say I want to cut it right there. Let's see what happens. All right, that's pretty good. I lucked out. Just happened that I lucked out. But, and it's crooked, of course. But I didn't need the fence to do the cut. But if I want a 90 degree, if I was to get a square, and say I want a 90 degree cut, I know that line, well, I should have gone this way, because I think something's wrong with this board. Let me go this way. Let me go this way. If I do this and that, I know that that line is 90 degrees here. And the only thing I have to do, instead of me eyeing it, try to get that blade to go through the line, it'll be tough. That's why I have the fence. I'll just put the blade where it's supposed to be, at the beginning of that line, and I know that I don't need the line. I know that that blade is going to go right through that cut on a 90 degree. Let me just do that. Another word I hear is climbing. This thing about this blade climbing. It doesn't climb, actually. You know, it's like, before I get to that, about the fence, the same thing with the ripping. You know, if I wanted to rip this board, maybe I should have waited for later, but I just mentioned it. If I wanted to rip this board, do I need the fence to do this ripping? Let me see if I can turn this. Let me go up a little bit. Okay. Well, I have this here. I think one of my videos, I had it like this. Let me see my battery here. I have it in this position in the in-rip because I mentioned on that video that I like to rip from right to left. Always. I always rip that way. Have I done it the other way? I said, that's what I said. Have I done, and that means ripping with the blade out, not this way, because you can't really rip on this position because you're going against the blade. And we're going to go through that. But what I meant was, if I turn the head around to rip from left to right, I've done some, yeah, but I try not to because I like ripping from right to left. And actually, the boards that I rip come from the mill. I think the widest one is maybe 14 inches if I find any of those. But most of them are 10 inches, 12 inches. and those are the ones that I grab. But anyway, back to what I was saying, do I need the fence to rip this board? And the answer is no, I don't. I don't need the fence at all. If I think I'm that good, meaning just like the cross cutting, if I make a line here and say I want to rip it, if I want to rip this guy, I actually don't need the fence. Let me see if you can see that. And the reason is because if I can hold this board in line with the blade, if I think that I can hold this and go right through the blade and make sure that that line goes right through the blade like this, I'll do pretty good. I'll be able to rip it without the fence, but it's crazy to do that. Because why would I want to do that? Why not use the fence to rip? Because it's going to give me the same distance. It's going to make that blade go through that line from the beginning of the cut to the end of the cut. So I just wanted to mention about the fence. It's just one way to look at it, that we actually don't need it to make a cut, to do a rip. But of course we want to use it because it makes it easy. Without the fence, it will be very difficult to operate, and maybe unsafe kind of. Also, especially in the ripping, without the fence, it would be crazy. Try to hold that board straight. That's the whole thing, is to hold it going right through the blade without deviating. You can't move it around because it's going to grab on you. So that's about the fence. Let me bring this back the other way. Okay. Okay, just let me stop this for a second. Okay, got a yellow battery here. Okay, so we talked about the fence. I'm just mentioning these things for whoever is interested in it. Just think about it, that's all. You know, you usually don't think about it. When you first get the saw, you're not thinking about a lot of things. You just thinking you just cut and go ahead and. But it's a lot. There's a lot. The more you know, the better it is, the safer it is, because you kind of know how the machine works, and you have to kind of give it a thought a little bit. And by doing that and knowing how the operation of the machine, you're able to work it safely. And again, that is the bottom line. Is not to get injured, and of course not to goof your machine. Because the next one is this climbing. I hear the climbing. I like that one. And it usually happens is when you feed your blade too much wood. It's the only time, because it won't be cutting. It's going to grab. You give too much wood, eventually it's going to just grab. I think I made a cut over here on this one, and I unplugged it because I'm going to use it. Just want to kind of show this. Most likely, those climb or it gets very aggressive on you. It has to do with what kind of blade you have. That's one, the blade, and of course how quick you feed it. You get to know your machine eventually. Each machine is different. This one is 2.5 horsepower. That one over there is a little bigger. I have the 3 horsepower, and they're a little different. You get to know your machine. You get to know how much to feed into the blade. That's all it is. You know, and you will get to hear it. You get to know how much to feed into the blade. And it has to do with, of course, what kind of blade you have and what wood you're cutting. Has a lot to do with it. Also, you're cross-cutting here and ripping, you're not. Here you're going, here you're cutting against the fibers. When you rip, you're going with the fibers. So it's a little different grab. There's more of a grab on your cross-cut than on your ripping. Of course, the blade is going differently, but that's beside the point. So what happens is if you give too much wood, it's going to grab on you, and what happens is the last tooth is going to just grab. It will just grab, cannot cut anymore, and the machine ain't going to bog the machine. You wind up shutting it down, and then people say that it climbs. You got to remember that, you know, the blade is going 100 miles an hour or so, and you're stopping it very quickly, and it's going to have to give somewhere. Well, where is it going to give? Of course, at the column, we have a little bit of give there, very little, but there's some give, because if it wasn't, then we wouldn't be able to bring the machine up or down. So it's going to give a little bit there for it to stop. The other place what's going to give is your miter. All of a sudden, it's going to go to your right or left. And if your blade is not calibrated correctly, it's going to really go to the side. So you're going to lose your miter. It's going to go off on your miter. Because again, you remember, to adjust the miter, we're not tightening those screws. They're just snugged to be in the middle. So there's going to be some give there. They're not tightened, so it's give there. Where else could be give? Well, there'll be all kinds of other gives, but those are the first ones that come around. Is those. If that ever happens to you, first thing you got to do is you got to make sure that your miter didn't go off the calibration, because it probably did. But what happens is that when people look at it, if you see the cut, it looks like it climbed. Yeah, it does. It looks like it climbed, but it didn't. That's the way the blade cuts. So when the blade comes over and stops, and it bogs it down, you know, you bring it out, and all of a sudden you think it climbed, and it doesn't. And actually, it's funny because this man, Stumpy Nubs, I don't know if this video or the next one I'm going to talk about, he says that the machine could climb 3/4 of an inch. Can you imagine him saying that? He's saying that this machine, this blade could climb over this board. This is 3/4 of an inch. I mean, if this machine can do that, it's a very dangerous machine, okay? Because it should not be doing that. If anything, if you want to call it a climb, to me it's just a give. It's got to give somewhere. It's very minute. And it will be the column, it will be your miter. It's going to go to the side of your blade, and it might even bend your blade a little bit. It's got to give somewhere. There is no such as climbing over. The blade will not climb over. And this one, I did this one, make believe is like a dado blade in there. So it's nice and high. And it looks, if you look at it, well, it does look like it's climbing, but it's not. That's the way the blade cuts. The blade cuts that way. So that's the scoop on that climbing that just doesn't make sense whatsoever to me. Let me see my battery here. Nope, it's red. I'll be right back. Okay. It's crazy because I went in on YouTube there just to see, because I'm trying to get into the ripping here, just to see what's out there. And not much. It's like maybe 2 or 3 videos of someone doing a ripping, and actually we're going to go through those because my goodness. But anyway, there was one video out there by Walter, I don't know. He's got like a 9-part series of the Craftsman Radial Arm Saw, and he does a pretty good job showing how you rotate this and that, the whole thing. But when it gets to the ripping, he makes a really bad mistake of what he said, and I'll give you that scenario here of what. That's the problem. That okay, he had it like this. He had it in the out position. Of course, we were viewing it this way. And it's weird what he says. He says that when you rip, that the blade, and he keeps going this way. What is this way? Everybody goes, the blade rotates. What is this way? It's clockwise. Okay? The blade is rotating clockwise. Let me put a break in this. Right? So he says that when you feed, of course he's feeding the right way, into the blade, it wants to lift. It's got a force of going up. The force of going up. And this unplugs, all right? Because I'm not gonna use it. And it's true. It does have some force going up. That's why we kind of have to hold it down some because of that. But also, the reason to really hold it down is we don't want any type of movement. And that's one of the reasons why we need the fence, actually, is to keep it straight on the blade, parallel to the blade, so it doesn't move this way, because then you pinch the blade. That's no good. Like I said, can I rip without the fence? Yes, if you can keep a straight line, you can do that. But anyway, back to what he was saying, that when you rip, let's see if we can get this in here, the blade kind of goes up. It has this up motion. But then he says that once you rip, all of a sudden in the back, because it's rotating this way, so I can get it to rotate, that the back has down pressure, is what he said. Let me see if I can get it to rotate. He's going up in the front, but now in the back, he's got down pressure, he says. And he's very wrong about that. And if you really think about it, I keep saying that you got to be careful what you say, because what you see is altogether different. And you cannot, well, he mentioned that you have pressure down and pressure up at the same time, which is impossible. And if you notice, it cannot happen because it's already cut back here. There is no wood to give the pressure down. Only here is where it's cutting, so you get a little upfeed, but nothing down at all because there's no wood there. Okay? There's no wood. Let me see if I can pick this up. There you go. There's the blades. It cannot go down. It's already cut. There's no wood for it to happen. So I just kind of caught that. But these are little things that you see and you hear out there on YouTube land. And especially on ripping, how wrong we really are. And it's just nice to know these little things because it just kind of keeps you in mind when you are using this machine. Once you know those little things, you put one and one together and make common sense, and you can do those cuts safely. Let me shut this down for a minute. All right, I think I'm gonna finish up this video. I'll come back in my next one. We're still talking about the ripping. I want to make that one, to keep that one separate, because we want to see what happens when you rip the wrong way and people are throwing in the wood and back the blade, and what will happen. How I hear things that are not true, and that's what I'm trying to get at. There's a lot of misinformation out there. It's not true, and I found a couple videos to really prove that. Okay, first of all, with this stupid stuff, it's I think I got that one straight. About stupid stuff people do with radial arm saws. Well, he said he's done that stupid one, so stupid is as stupid do. As stupid does is what they say. We got that one. So the next video that this Stumpy man did, how wrong he was. You got to stop talking about a machine that he has no inkling on how it works, or you have never had one, never operated one. It's like, why talk about it? Because you really look dumb out there. And he just stands there. There's a lot of blah 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 blah. There's no action. He's nothing to back anything up. I wonder if he ever has a radial arm saw like he said he does. But this next video of his that I saw, and like I said, I was looking something for ripping, and it says the truth about radial arm saws. Now he's telling me the truth about this machine. And of course I had to watch this stupid video because I think that's what he wants. He just entice people, trying to grab people so he can get viewers and clicks and whatever. And you know, and it's funny because there's a lot of thumbs up on these, especially this one. How dumb this video is. The truth about radial arm saws by Stumpy Nubs, he calls himself. And there's nothing but thumbs up. There's no thumbs down on YouTube. I've never seen a thumbs down on YouTube. Ain't that funny? It's turning to be like Facebook. I think I was on Facebook for the first year, and that was it. It was like, that wasn't for me. But anyway, on this video, just about everything he says is a lie. He starts that the machine is not accurate. Been going through it, been telling you how accurate this machine really is. It's like you can't, I can go down into 1/128th of an inch with this machine. I mean, how accurate can you be? What is your number? 64th, 30 seconds? Anyway, only good for rough cuts. It's like, why have the machine? I mean, I have a hand saw or a radial saw, a circular saw that I can cut rough the board if I want to. I don't need a machine like this if you're only going to cut for rough cuts. It just doesn't make sense. Unsafe, crazy cuts. See, we go with the crazy cuts again. That's from the other video that he thinks that not only is that crazy, but they're stupid. The stupid cuts and the people that makes them are stupid, and I guess the machine that's making those cuts are stupid, so everybody's stupid in his video, which, I don't know, I wonder who the stupid person really is. Dangerous. No, I will be shown that there's nothing dangerous. I think the table saw is more dangerous than this. Common sense criticism. Oh, something about, he mentioned that in some of the radial arm saw users must have gone into his forum there and must have said something, but of course you can't read it because it's old, probably gone. You know, all the negative is gone. That's why I didn't want to go in there. That's why I'm making this video about that video. This is how I feel about it from what I saw. It can pull your hand into the blade. I heard that one. You imagine him saying that. Can climb on top of the workpiece. Here we go with the climbing again. At the kickback, you get a kickback from the radial arm saw, but it's not about the kickback with the table saw, and that's bullshit because you don't get a kickback with a table saw. And I'll go through that on my next video. I'll explain the kickbacks and the ripping. You get an ejection from the table saw. This machine here, the radial arm saw, you do get a kickback. Okay? Something about, this is a good one because that's all he does is mention his negative hook blade. He sells, or he's sponsored by somebody there. He's selling tools. You know, these web things is like you go in there, he thinks he knows it all, but yet he's selling your products is what it is. Anyway, some cuts are safely made better with another tool. See, that's funny, because I've heard he hurt himself. I wonder, I not really don't care, but what machine did he use that it was safely made with other tools? So, that's pretty funny. He should have maybe used a radial arm saw for those cuts. You would have been all right. This one I hear a lot, but he mentioned this, difficult to keep a line. And we've been through this, how easy it is to keep these machines aligned. Very easy, if you know what you're doing and how to do it. And it's not a convenient tool. Oh my goodness. How a lie that one is. It's so convenient. I have that one over there. They should take to work with me. That's how convenient the tool that this tool really is. This is a good one. He mentions a jack of all trades is a master of none. Well, this is a jack of all cuts and a master of all is what the radial arm saw really is. The table saw is more convenient for ripping. Oh my goodness. You can tell he's a table saw man. And he probably never had a radial arm saw. He never have used one. He uses the table saw for cross-cutting, miter, and bevel. He does everything on the table saw. He thinks it's much better than using this, which is bullshit. It's more easy and accurate than the radial arm saw, making those cuts on the table saw. To fiddle to adjust. I like that. To fiddle to adjust. What's so fiddle about it? He said he had he had a climb cut, I believe, and he goes, you can't deny it because a lot of dumb people are telling him that yes, there is a climb cut, it climbs. So he's telling me that I cannot deny it, and I'm denying it. There's no such thing as a climb cut. If your machine goes over that board 3/4 of an inch, there's something wrong with your machine. I don't know what toy you're playing with, and it's very unsafe. If that thing climbs 3/4 of an inch, you have a problem if you call it a climb. To me, it climbs, it goes up to 3/4 of an inch, probably goes on the other side. Here's a good one for the DeWalt people that have a radial arm saw. Cast iron flexes. Can you believe that? A cast iron will flex. Gee. And of course, now all of a sudden he's making flex. I don't know what the flex is coming about, because he needs 3/4 of an inch for it to climb, what he calls a climb. And here we go with the, if you listen to his video, of course, that's probably what he wants, is for you to go over there and see the stupid, I'm telling you this so you don't have to go over there, but if you want to, go ahead and you hear him blah, 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 blah. He's like a preacher. He's very good at it. He says that someday he has one. He has a radial arm saw, he says. I wonder if he really does. But someday he might take it out. Someday. Stumpy, please don't. Okay, you already hurt yourself somehow. Don't bring out the radial arm saw. If you think that all this is wrong, it's wrong with the radial arm saw. is why even bring it out. It just doesn't make sense whatsoever. Like I said, stupid is as stupid does. I'll close this video and come back with the next one. Thanks for watching.